All cultures in the world have myths and fairy tales about the journey of the souls on earth. The journey requires them to face obstacles, learn lessons, and pass tests on the path to the lost kingdom. Today's world is filled with people in search of the truth. The increasing number of those is obvious. They are seeking the God along with the answers of the Genesis.
Living in communities with a spiritual basis, religious communities. I spent time in Turkey. I live with Buddhists and Hindus and Sikhs and Muslims, in fact all the religious groups.
I began to search without really thinking that I was searching, but an interest, a sort of passion in investigating different religions.
Not a surprise for me today that these teachings very accurately meet with modern quantum physics. You can say that the ideas of the Taoists are extremely similar to what modern physics tell us today. What means to me that this is an information accessible to humans since thousands of years, and it depends on the cultural background how they are interpreted.
अभी सत्य क्या है बस समझ गई अभी सत्य पर चलने का मार्ग दिखाई पड़ा.
Now I know what is true and now I know the path to follow the truth.
When I was 18, I had a very deep feeling that I wanted to find the truth.
The present time in the world has different names in Holy Scriptures. The Diamond Age is one of them. It is said to be the time just before the Golden Age comes, or they call it the transition period.
I expect that we are going through a transition period, and people will wake up, people will become conscious that consuming and materialism is not everything. Spirituality and spiritual values is a very important part of our life, and I believe if everybody imbibes qualities like peace, happiness, purity, then we all go towards a better world.
There are negativities, and negativities, they bring very short-lived pleasures but end up in sufferings.
And in that major transition, I think what everyone is looking for, and time is indicating, that we cannot continue the way we are, in the sense of with violence and with greed and some kind of policies where there are no values. So that change has to happen.
They started to exclude the female principle. They started to discriminate the female principle. They stopped to worship the goddess. The goddess of femininity means what gives birth and what nurtures life. And this is what we destroy. We destroy in our days our fundamental needs. We destroy our environment for nothing.
Time of transition, and I think many people feel this in the world. It's like a meeting of a whole old paradigm of life, the old way of thinking. Life based on ego and all these sort of things. There's a new paradigm being created that's going to move the cycle in a different direction.
Awareness and consciousness always kind of tell them, ring the bell.
Ego instead of self-respect and possessiveness, all such vices came into our consciousness.
That now the time of sorrow is to come to an end and the old world is coming to an end.
Extremity of vices bring extremity of sufferings. That's what we are witnessing today in any part of the world.
Big transition is happening because all the time, in the time there is this, when there is good, then bad and good both exist. Especially at this time we find that negative forces are very strong. But then on the other side what I find that also positive force is emerging. So this is a time of not a small transition but major transition.
And that we're going to move back into a more elevated civilization, elevated culture.
Now it's the lowest stage, the climax of vices, climax of human suffering.
Physics, the fifth dimension, the transition period to the fifth dimension, but it's very difficult to put one word to it. It doesn't have a word.
If it is so dark, so much darkness of ignorance, and it's like night time, but dawn must begin.
The fairy tales and myths describe the spiritual journey of each soul through its experience on earth. There is a reason that we thrill to these stories in all of their many different renditions. It is because maybe it is our story.
In today's world, we've identified completely with our material identity, and that causes many, many problems. And so we're concerned only with a consumer society, what we can get, what we can have. My position, my possessions. If anything happens to any of this, my dignity and self-respect is lost completely. Coming back to the inner awareness of who I am and the recognition that I am the eternal being of light, the soul, I'm able to come back to recognize my own value, the laws of God, the laws of nature. The problem with the environment today is that we don't respect the environment. We've forgotten to have respect for the self, so we've forgotten to have respect for all forms of life. And because of this, we've destroyed the habitat in which we live.
It is an inevitable fact that much metaphysical knowledge emerges today, and the number of those who talk about awakening is increasing day by day. Those who have chosen the same spiritual path for them have different origins and different stories.
I was always looking for something deeply spiritual, and so I tried many different things. I went traveling and I visited many spiritual places in Europe. I'd gone to India when I was about 19, and then finally in London I started this meditation course. I didn't think I was going to stay, but 32 years later I'm still there.
I never felt that you are born just to live, in the sense of, you work, you eat and you sleep, and I thought there should be some mission, there must be some purpose. Life should be great and there must be some greatness in that. So that seeking used to take me to many spiritual places, plus a lot of readings.
I felt as if perhaps I'd lost something, and it was starting to come back and I couldn't quite work out.
Well, we can see we have multiple problems at the world at the present time. When I started with this spiritual path in 1985, in Germany there was a lot of discussion on missiles and Cold War and all this, and there was a lot of tension in the youth in Germany at that time. Nowadays we have other problems. We have a lot of environmental problems, global warming, the use of natural resources is a big problem, and if we go ahead like that, in 30-40 years we would need a second globe only for resources. Nowadays also the financial crisis is very big on the agenda, and we can see that the lifestyle which we are having is not sustainable. We are living in a way that we are consuming and taking without giving, and if we are not changing, we cannot go on like that endless. This is very obvious now. Many people are becoming aware of that fact.
I was doing other scriptures, other religions. I actually even did the Sufis, Buddhism, Christianity, different aspects of Christianity. I also liked looking at the ancient religions like Egyptian or Greek. And but what I wanted to do is also feel these things.
It was during a talk to a friend about God, which I ever rejected this idea. I ever said there is nothing like a God or something. There is no spiritual power, there is no sense behind life. I was 16 years old. And this talk grew very intense. And then I was kind of lifted up from the floor and smashed against the wall, where it dropped down.
Actually, I had the feeling that I had everything I wanted in the circumstances in my life to be really happy, but I didn't feel that happiness, and so something was missing.
When I was a teenager, I was an atheist because I found it very hard to accept a God. At least that I was taught God was a very punishing, authoritarian, judgmental type of God. So as a young person, I rejected God. Then as I traveled, as I was saying, I became an agnostic. I just didn't know.
Having a good relationship, child coming, good job, nice friends and family and everything, but it's not enough.
They offered a concept of God being a soul like myself.
I've always believed, right from a small child, that there was more to this world than we actually see. I've always believed that there is a spirit world, and I've always believed that we can do anything that we want to do. And I've also always believed in imagination. And when I discovered shamanism, I looked at many other different spiritual belief systems, but there was always something that was not quite right. There was always something that was maybe missing, or there was maybe something that was maybe contradictory or didn't fit with my belief system. And when I came across shamanism, it was like everything made sense.
One day suddenly my third eye opened up. And I started seeing other dimensions. I started seeing other realities.
But where did we come from and where do we pass through now? Sufism and many belief systems talk about the cycle of time while defining the creation of the planet. The cycle that the duration ranges from is between 5,000 and 26,000 years in different faiths and opens in a golden age, a time of extreme purity. It is the time that is sometimes referred to as paradise, and those who were fortunate enough to live at that time were very happy.
The times of the world when people were living natural, virtuous life, and because of virtues in life, because of simplicity, purity, and love among themselves, they all enjoyed very healthy, very long and very, very happy lives. That was known as Golden Age. In India we call it Satyug.
Our world consists of cosmic principles manifested as function, which repeat again and again and again.
I was very impressed by the philosophy that a new golden age is coming, which appealed very much to my belief at that time.
During 5,000 years of this world drama, and when the drama reaches its climax, the time for most of the souls to return home before the next scenes of drama or the new scenes of drama start again.
It is our belief that ultimately a new paradise will be established by the good deeds of the people and by the intervention of God.
So it's a continuous cyclic repetition of world drama in 5,000 years.
We do repeat things, yes. And there are cycles, there's 500-year cycles, 2,183-year cycles, 26,000-year cycles. Like right now, 2012 is finishing a 26,000-year cycle. It's, to be exact, it's 25,765, I think.
You would be amused to know, we were sitting here, interviewing me, and this was 5,000 years ago. We are sitting today, and after 5,000 years we will be sitting here in the same form, same dress, with same smile.
The second act of the cycle is known as the Silver Age. It is followed by the Copper Age and Iron Age, in which human beings experienced a time of extreme darkness and conflict. The cycle ends with destruction or a kind of transformation just before everything starts from the same beginning.
In shamanism, we don't talk about destruction, we talk about transformation. So at the moment, let's say with all of the recession and the economic crisis that's happening in the world, from the shamanic perspective, it's seen as a healthy process, because we've lost a lot of the time, a lot of people have lost touch with what's happening within themselves. They've become too focused on the material world, and they define themselves by how much money they have, what car they drive, where they live, what clothes they wear. So they've almost like they've lost touch with their center.
Earth is going into a different dimension, a different vibration, a different reality. But the transition period is giving us a hard time.
Transformation will bring us more to remember who we are. It's not about what we could become, it's about who we already are, but we've kind of forgotten it along the way.
We will have some small catastrophes towards 2012.
From the shamanic perspective, and I've heard this from Siberian shamans in Siberia, Aborigines in Australia and in South America, and they all talk about that it's a period of transformation. It's not a time of destruction.
So many of us have woken up. So many of us are starting to see other dimensions and other realities. So many of us are clearing our energies, our past lives, that the earth is becoming lighter and lighter. In 2012, nothing is going to be smooth sailing. Before 2012, we're going to experience some events, but the events won't be nearly as difficult as the events we're going to experience within us. Our whole psychological makeup is changing. Our bodies are going to change too. They're going to become lighter, less dense. But that's causing some emotional problems. We have to face our truth. And that's what's going to be the most difficult thing. An earthquake here and a flood there is nothing compared to our truth.
In another meaning, we eternally exist in the same form and with the same experiences in every cycle. We eternally cry for starving children in Africa, crucify Jesus Christ, and drop an atomic bomb in Hiroshima each time.
I think the message in the cycle is really, an eternal law really of life, that everything in time goes from new to old. And in a sense, physically we watch things degrade, but spiritually human souls lose their happiness and their spiritual power. And we're living at a time now where most people find life very challenging because we've lost our internal strength, and therefore our minds have taken over. And sometimes we're such victims of our own negative thinking. And I think the story of the cycle is really when we change, the world will change.
It is possible to find descriptions such as the collapse of virtues and social values along with collective killings in holy scriptures.
Whether it's ego, whether it's greed, wanting, but getting actually nothing, not really becoming filled. And this is what is happening now. People want things, and even if they get them, they're still not content.
And the reasons are the 5 vices. Within that, desires,
ये भी चाहिए, ये भी चाहिए, ये भी चाहिए.
They're one.
There's such an emptiness internally, I would say spiritually. There's a big vacuum inside.
A last point that would be caused by a nuclear war is also in question. In this time, the past clairvoyants such as Nostradamus are again brought to our minds with their prophecies as the Third World War towards the final end of the earth. Similar tales call attention to a certain date, which is the end of the Mayan calendar in 2012.
If Maya ends on 21st December 2012, after that we will have golden age then.
To me, the real message of now, and this message even of the Mayan calendar, is now is the time to change. Now is the time to know myself, know God.
The Maya calendar means when the negativity started in this world. That is called Maya. Maya means